And it was nice to see Martin Scorsese win. There's a motherfucker who really should have gotten up and just been like, it's about time. Fuck you.
Yeah,
Walk
it's like,
away.
what the fuck?
Did you ever meet Martin Scorsese? I did.
Did I ever meet Martin Scorsese? I do not believe I've met Martin Scorsese.
Short.
Yeah.
But very peppy.
Peppy but short.
Peppy but short. Peppy la short.
Hopefully you'll do his eulogy.
Yeah, totally. Have me there when he dies. I'm just like, this motherfucker was peppy.
He was short.
Short, but
he was
very peppy. And fuck, could he wear eyebrows. Do you remember when we were first involved with Miramax? It's like 94. This may be our first celebrity sighting, at least together.
Yes.
And we're in the elevator, and we're heading upstairs to Miramax. And the floor above is De Niro's company, the name of which is Tribeca Film.
Yeah.
So me and you get onto the elevator, and we're just like bullshitting and laughing about something. And we go fucking like stealth, whisper quiet, because in the elevator is Chris Walken.
Yeah.
And Bill Hickey.
And Bill Hickey.
The dude from Prince's Honor. And the voice of the mad scientist in Nightmare Before Christmas.
And what's amazing is, like, if you think about it, like, those are two guys that, like, if we'd have walked in there blindfolded and they started talking, you literally would have been
We would have known. If we were a couple blind kids coming out of the Miramax blind school, you know, after our Braille lessons, we would have known it was them and shit.
Do you remember what Chris Walken said?
Of course I did. It was him like, so are you performing now? And then Bill Hickey spoke. And it's that sickly, recognizable voice, man.
I don't remember what he said.
I don't remember what he said, but it was his it was the same dude who was like, "Do you want a cookie, my dear?" You know, in Prince's Honor. It was amazing. Totally. Do you remember the second celebrity sighting we ever had?
It was we went to Tokyo, and there was Laura Sangiacomo.
Yeah, that's right. Who didn't really take to our sense of humor, but did find you very cute. I think she never came out and said.
Never wrote me a note.
Right, but you could tell she
could write me a note. If
she could tolerate your bullshit way more than mine. Yeah. Like, I would sit there and crack jokes, and she'd be like, "Oh, that's the irritating fat."
I think
one
we
with
just kept making jokes about, what was the name of the movie?
Nina Takes a Lover. Which, when they introduced in Tokyo, they were like, "Nina Take a Lover."
That tickled us.
Not her though, as we said it over and over again. But there was her.
And then Cannes happened. I think you're headed. I think in your mind, I don't know if you're headed toward the Toronto story.
What's the Toronto story?
I remember we were in. So later that year, when we were at the Toronto Film Festival, and we were with Karen, the publicist. Karen.
She worked for Angelotti at the time.
So we were. There was the movie that Miramax had, the one, The Pig, The Hour of the Pig.
But which they changed the name to. It was the other movie that was like got an NC-17 around the same time that we did, and they changed the name to The Advocate.
Yes, and the girl who was the star of it, who was also in Krull.
She was in Krull years ago, but she was in that more recently she'd been in Husbands and Wives, the Woody Allen movie. She was in that scene where with.
She was in the scene
Sidney
with
Pollack, where he's like, "Get in the fucking car."
And you and I we were all going to climb inside of a taxi cab.
And Mosier just busted the best fucking callback of that line where she got in the car and Mosier just kind of under his breath was like, "Get in the fucking car." And I just cried about that for fucking hours, dude. The chick was like, what? Celebrity sighting, do you remember being in the Cantina, the restaurant at Universal? Me, you, and Jim Jacks eating lunch, and fucking Sean Connery sits down at the next table.
I don't remember that.
Oh, that was fucked up, because it was, I forget what he'd be doing there at that time, because it was circa late 94, early 95, because we went into production on Mallrats. We were out in Minnesota by like 95, March 95.
Yeah.
So this is either prior to that, or maybe it was in post. Maybe it was when we were editing Mallrats. But we were eating at that restaurant, like across from the Black Tower on the lot, and it's me, you, and Jax bullshitting away, and then Sean Connery comes and eats by himself at this table next to us, and the whole time we're just like, look at him eat soup. That's fucked up.
God, I don't remember that.
Yeah, I remember being that captured my imagination in a big bad way, just watching Sean Connery. What does he eat for lunch? Why is he by himself? Should we invite him to our table?
It's fucked up. The celebrities eat.
Yeah, I'm amazed when I see famous people kind of eat.
You're like the guy that section in Us magazine is made for. Celebrities are just like us.
No doubt. When I see a picture of the broad from fucking Desperate Housewives buying groceries, I'm like, that's fucked up. What's in her cart? And thankfully in Us magazine, they tell you what's in her fucking cart. What's Terry Hatcher buying? Low rent meat. Ass meat. I ran into Sean Connery, over a decade later, when I went to Edinburgh for Clerks 2, they had this big Edinburgh Film Festival in Scotland. They had this big party to celebrate the festival. I think it was some kind of anniversary, 50th, 60th, I don't know, something like that, maybe 30th, I don't know. So they held it at this museum there, filled with Scottish art. So a lot of people wearing kilts and whatnot. And people in attendance. In the art they were wearing kilts, people in attendance wearing kilts as well. And of course I was not dressed in kilts. I had a trench coat and short jean shorts, black shirt. So me and Jen are there, and we're talking to Shane, the dude who was the festival programmer. But he's just like, Sir Sean Connery's here tonight. And he's Scottish, Sean Connery, and he's real tied in with that festival and whatnot. So he was kind of hosting the party, so to speak. Yep. So he's like, you want to meet him? And I was like, honestly, what would I fucking say? Like, I love Sean Connery, but like at this point, what would I fucking say to him except like, hey man, fucking
should have mailed it to the Mox.
Exactly, that kind of thing. So we're trolling around the museum, and at one point, I see him kind of holding court. He's talking to like 3 people, and he's decked out in the fucking kilt.
Yeah.
With a tux top and shit. And the dude locked eyes with me and gave me the once over and had this fucking face on, like of utter distaste. And I don't think it had anything to do with my body work, 'cause I don't think Sean Connery knows who I am from Hole in the Wall, but I think he was just like...
Your fashion?
Yeah, like, how dare you come dressed like that at my party? But, I mean, like, a motherfucker wearing a dress is looking at me and kind of giving me, mean mugging me and shit like that.
He didn't say, hey, Kev.
No, but it would have been great, though, if later on I was off in the corner eating a little fucking, aperitif or an appetizer, and he was looking at me talking to his friend going, look at him, it's fucking eating, it's fucked up. He eats a lot.
It's fucked up.
The ironic thing is that's your initials, Sam.
It is. That's
Scott A. Mosier. What does the A stand for?
It doesn't stand for anything.
I think that's
it's an initial.
And what's the origin story of that?
I think the way it went down is like my dad is just like, look, middle names were because everybody was John, Paul. Everybody was named after an apostle, and the only way to like distinguish like everybody was, everybody had the same names a lot, and especially nowadays where people are called Apple and all this other. It's like you don't need a middle name to distinguish who you are. But he was just like, we don't need a middle name, and but then when I was born, my auntie was giving him a hard time, kind of griping him out about giving me a middle name.
Right.
So
giving him shit. Can you imagine that? So the dude's like, look, I did the heavy work.
Yeah.
I knocked this woman up, and we brought a human life in the world. You're going to ride my nuts about providing a middle fucking name?
And so he wrote Scott A. Mosier.
But the A stands for nothing.
That doesn't stand for anything.
It's so weird.
I mean, it may stand for my dad, like, being an asshole.
Flaunting convention. Yeah. Throwing something down.
That was the story as it was told, that it was him sort of like doing it as a point.
It'd be awesome if it was Scott. Auntie's a dickhead. Mosier.
Yeah, exactly.
I remember when I worked at Quick Stop, Mr. Topper, or Tapar, we called him Topper, who owned the joint. He's a Hindu dude, Indian dude. Lovely guy. He came to like the States from India. I think in the early 60s when yoga was kind of catching on, maybe the mid 60s, and became a pretty successful yogi, pretty successful instructor. Then wound up in the convenience store biz for some reason. He had a buddy who would come and stay with them for long periods of time. And I remember coming in to get a drink, and he was like, Kevin, have you met my friend, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, hey, how are you? He's like, he is from India, which I was like, well, duh.
Yeah.
But he said he is a fakir in India, and I was like, get out of here, man, fakir. I don't know what that was, but I figured it out pretty quickly. And he was like, he specializes in reading palms and telling fortunes. And I was like, wow, like Mr. Topper hangs out with carny people. Like, is he going to introduce him to his friend the geek next?
Yeah.
Guy biting off chickens' heads for money. But he was like, let him look at your palm. And I was, like, nervous because I was like, did I jerk off next door? Because I used to jerk off in RST Video quite a lot. Because, you get bored. Not a lot of people came through there. And we had a porn room. And so, in the downtime, I'd just go I'd lock the front door, go into that little porn room closet, shut the door, grab a fucking paper towel, turn the boxes around to the really dirty pictures, not the model
not the covers,
on the front, but the back where they showed a shots of the ass and dick and ass, that kind of thing. And just tug one out to this. So I was trying to remember, did I tug one out? And if I did I wash my hands? And if I didn't, is this guy going to be able to tell? Will the fakir read my palm and be like, your sperm line is present?
This line is
not a line.
Yeah, a big gob of sperm.
This means that you don't wash and you're filthy and dirty.